Hello and welcome back. In today's video, I will be ranking the top 10 A-level psychology studies in the AQA spec, and it's going to be mind-blowing. Whether you've taken A-level psychology, you're taking it right now, you took it in the past, cheeky trip down memory lane, all the highlights, it's happening. You like my microphone, by the way? I think it's really ingenious because all the other sound is so bad. Anyway, should we get on to starting? I'd like to start off with some honourable mentions. I've got my notes down here, by the way, which is why I keep looking down. I should get like a stand or something really, shouldn't I? But anyway, an honourable mention. First one, Ash. It's just a classic, isn't he? He's on every single paper one for social, and you can use him in literally every essay. Like, who doesn't like that in a study? Next one, Badley, memory. Like, which Badley study? Every single one, because he did so many. Like, I could confidently in that exam name Badley as the psychologist for every single study, because he probably had something to do with all of them. Final one, Ainsworth. What a lass. Like, hashtag psychology girl boss, because like, how many female psychologists do you know? Not many. And she's just OG. Strange Situation is a good one. All the little babies we love. And I'd also like to point out, I've been doing this like forensic course on the Open University to busy up my time in quarantine. And I came across this one where a police officer in Germany was doing the Phantom of, I can't even say it, Hellbrown case. And it was like they thought there was this like mad rabid female serial killer. He was doing all these killings and like stealing stuff and all of that. And it turns out that this police officer had just got her DNA like contaminated with all of like, what's it called? The evidence. And like, it's just, what the hell? But like, everybody makes mistakes, and like, I know I'll never make a mistake as bad as that, so it's like quite reassuring, like, yes. I'd also like to discuss some studies that I wish didn't exist purely because of their inconvenience. So, the first one, I know Amy's going to hate me for saying this, but Sperry with his split brain research, what the hell's that about? Like, it literally took me like the whole 3-hour lesson and hours and hours and hours at home to understand what the hell was going on. And as someone who really struggles with her left and rights, this lesson literally just made me cry. Like, I just could not get my head around it. And this was the one study that I just still, if you ask me about it now, I would have to spend half an hour refreshing it, and like, honestly, I just couldn't. Another one, Wundt, Psychology Daddy, we stand, but also like came up on every single paper that I did that would have featured him. He was there, and the mocks were always like ridiculously difficult. Like, one of my mocks was an 8 marker on Wundt, and I was like, what did he even do? It was like, oh, pain in the ass. And finally, I know, like, I understand how iconic the study is, and like how it's like the big one that everyone knows, and it's like always a joke, and like, oh, there's so many memes. But Pavlov, like, yes, I get that it's like really like monumental and everything, but like having to write out unconditioned, condition, neutral stimulus response and get it like right every time just took up so much time in the exam that I just don't think it was worth it. And it was like, it's just too long to explain like such a simple concept. Like, I'm not here for it. Sorry. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the ranking, top 10. Ooh, what you're all here for, the moment has arrived. Coming in at number 10, Maguire, Taxi Cab Study. Comes up in biopsychology, I'm pretty sure, under brain plasticity, and it's just a great study. It's great for AO3. You can use it on like localization of function questions, brain plasticity questions, split brain questions. Like, you can use it on all of them. Maguire, easy name to spell, we love, and like, it's just interesting, isn't it? Also, kind of made me want to get a brain scan to see if I had like the big area of the brain, but like, imagine if you were like, you have the brain to be a taxi driver. Like, despite the fact that I'm like terrified of strangers, and also like driving scares me, especially in like a city, like that would be awful. But like, imagine if they were like, Fion, dream job, taxi driver, like, you've got the brain for it. Like, I'd just be... I'm gonna list one downside of all of my top 10, because nobody's perfect, as we've agreed with the female police officer in that the Germany study. But downside of the Maguire one, it's normally paired with localization of function, which listing all of the areas of the brain and what they do and all of that is a lot of effort. And as someone who's quite lazy and just likes to really write fast and get to the point, it was just a lot. So if I had to write about localization of function as well, it just wasn't quite as fun. It ruined the spice, but there we go. Number 9, Phineas Gage. In my notes, I've literally just written big old Roddy, because Phineas Gage, for those of you who don't know, got a rod shoved through his head while he was working at I think it was on a train line or something, yeah. This rod just went through his head, survived it, absolute miracle, we love. But his personality changed. I think this is evidence for localization of function. So his personality changed. But how cool is that he's still he was walking around with a massive hole in his face. What a story to tell the grandkids, you know. But also in more than 50% of the times that I was revising, I've referred to him as Nicolas Cage. Yep, imagine if I'd have done that in the actual exam, I could have almost guaranteed that would have happened, and it would have been the funniest thing ever, but also I would have cried. The downside to this experiment was obviously that he had a personality change and he got kind of mean, and that's not good, and that wasn't his fault obviously, and that's sad, and I feel bad for his wife and his kids and all of that, because he might be mean now. And coming in at number 8, we have Zimbardo and the prison study. This comes up in the social topic, and basically Zimbardo just assigned volunteers for the study either the role of prisoner or guard, and then just put them in a prison and we're see what happens, let's just let them get on with it. And he was watching from behind the scenes through a camera, and they were all just going at each other, and it started off with the prisoners rebelling and everything, but ended up with the guards beating them and stuff, which is not good, but also it's super interesting, and it's also an eye-opener to how extreme psychology research can be, because before doing this study, this was one of the first ones we did, I didn't even realise that was even allowed, and the fact that they did that, and before ethics was a big thing, that they could just get away with this, and how useful the research is. But obviously we couldn't do it again. The BBC one, they had to change so much and all the results were different, but it's just kind of crazy. The downside was the fact that they couldn't actually finish it because people were going insane and crying and mental illness. Ooh, no, yeah, not good. But anyway, it was a good study. I rate it. Number 7, the Batista Boys. I'm going to refer to this study from now on through the rest of time as BAM penis. Because, the study, these boys were actually girls until they hit puberty. They had all the girl parts and it was all ooh, and then they hit puberty and then they just grew a penis, and then that was it. They were boys now. I think there was 4 of them actually, or 3. I think, yeah, there was quite a few of them, but yeah, just puberty hips and bam. The reason it's such a good study is wouldn't you just wanted to have been there when it happened, being the confusion, the drama, and then having to explain to all the people you know, you're yeah, I'm just a guy now, that's just how things are. The negative of this study is having to remember and be able to spell dihydrotestosterone. Oh, I can't spell Batista on a good day. How the hell do you expect me to remember that and be able to spell it in an exam? What a relief that we didn't have to. I guess one perk of it is I didn't have to remember to spell that. I'm glad I don't have the hassle, but bam, penis, we love. Number 6, the Gordon Badley, the Divers study for context-dependent forgetting. This one is courtesy of Hannah, who's going to be on my degree psychology course next year, hopefully. Hi, Hannah. But yeah, she enlightened me to the fact that one of the participants nearly got hit by a military submarine while doing the experiment, and I just think that's the funniest thing. Imagine trying to recall things, test your memory, and just turn around and it's bam, submarine. It's just It's just great, isn't it? And it's also such an extra study. Like, there are so many different contexts that they could have done to test memory, like the context of different buildings, different lighting, different inside, outside. No, they had to go on land and underwater. I just love it. And then only downside is I always messed it up with state dependent forgetting, the one with the antihistamines. Yeah, I couldn't remember who did that one because I always thought they were both gone valiant. They're not, and yeah. Okay. We're halfway through the rankings now. Coming on with number 5. I've given number 5 to a study that's not always remembered, not always recognised. It's in the last section of the attachment topic, and it's the one of like future relationships and like the internal working model, and that one, the Hazan and Shaver love quiz. Like, I used to love writing about this. Like, whenever we got the choice to do like essays in attachment, I'd always pick this. I used to think it was so fun. And like, basically they just put an advertisement in like a newspaper, and they were like, please fill in this about your love life, and like it's just like a quiz, yay, fun. And then they actually just like psyched everyone out, and they were like, oh, so this person had a bad relationship with their mom, therefore they can't commit to people now. And it's like, ooh. Like, they really just got people, didn't they? And then like a positive of this study is like it's given evidence, like a scientific excuse for commitment issues. Like, you can literally blame commitment issues on like biology, and like, yeah, my mom, it's my dad, yeah, not my fault. Whoop. I couldn't fault this one. Like, I was trying to think, but I was like, I loved attachment was my favourite topic, I think, on the whole A-level course. So go attachment, I guess. Go this study, we love. My number 4 is quite controversial, I feel. Like, I feel like you either love this guy or you hate him. I absolutely bloody love him, and will write about him any given, like, I tell everybody about this absolute legend. Freud Bay. Freudy poo. We love him. In this house we stan Freud. And like, literally, he's just great, isn't he? Like, he has the most insane theories that make literally like no logical sense, but somehow he's managed to make them like official things and make them make sense, and like, you can see where he's coming from in like most, like, it's just like, he's a smart guy. Like, I wish I had that persuasive power within me, because I just don't. But like, Freud, he was just that guy. And Little Hans, the case study he did to do the Oedipus complex, and he literally was just roasting the dad the whole time. He was like, yeah, scared of horses because he's scared that you're going to take away his penis and you look like a horse. I just love it. I can't fault it. Freud is great. Oh, I can fault Freud though, because I always have to talk about falsifiability. Again, really hard to spell, really long word, and like you can't fault his things because they're like, you can't disprove them, which is what falsifiability is. And like, that's just really snaky, because like all these other psychologists hate him, and so much research was put in just to try and like to give something that wasn't Freud's explanation. And like, that's just really snaky of him, because like, this is going to go down and hit, like, Freud is always going to be like a thing that people talk about, because like, you can't say it's wrong there, but like, you can't prove it wrong, but like, is it right? But like, it's just always there, isn't it? So, top 3. This is really getting to the nitty gritty parts, the highlights, the things that just makes A-level psychology worth taking. These are the studies that carried me through. Number 3, Lorenz and the geese. If you didn't watch the video while you were doing it, or if you're new to psychology, you had new psychology and you haven't covered it yet, like, honestly, just Google like the Lorenz geese imprinting and just watch this video, and it's literally just this guy who's got these geese and like incubated them, and like, when they hatched, he was like the person they imprinted on, and it's just like a 2-minute video of these trail of geese just following this man around everywhere. It's the cutest thing ever. Honestly, it's just, I love it. And like, I just want geese children. Like, I want to be a geese mommy. And also, like, this whole study just makes me think it's like the soft version of Twilight. Like, you know, the bit where it's like, you imprinted on my daughter with Jacob and all of that. That's literally it. Like, imagine like a geese mom coming up to Lorenz and being like, dude, what the hell? Like, these are my kids. Like, they just like That's crazy. The sad part about this study is like it is kind of mean. Like these animals have become dependent on someone that's not their species. Like Lorenz isn't gonna like feed them through his mouth or anything. Like he's not gonna spit his food at them. And like, isn't that how geese eat? Yeah, not good. So that's kind of sad. But like, let's hope they're okay now, I guess. Well, they're probably dead now. That was a long time ago, but I'm sure it's fine. Fingers crossed it was fine. But yeah. Study number 2. Rosenham, sane in insane places, comes under the topic of schizophrenia, and it's just kind of iconic, really. Like I put this as number 2 purely for the surprise bitch moment that just happens at the end when Rosenham rocks up to all these psych wards where they've had like, basically they had like normal people go in faking schizophrenia symptoms, and then they like locked them up for having schizophrenia in psych wards, and they were there for months and months and months, even though as soon as they got admitted to the ward they like stopped showing all symptoms. Like they just kept them there, and like and then Rosa just turns up and he's like, yeah, this is actually a study, and like they're like completely normal, like they're fine, they don't have schizophrenia, can you like let them go now please? Like what a joke guy is. He was like, oh, I would have loved it. Like, just imagine being a psych ward and being like, yeah, they were faking it, and now you're just keeping them hostage. Like how much effort must they have had to put into like taking care of all these extra people for them to not actually have anything wrong with them? Like, crazy. So the only downfall I had for this study was the spelling of schizophrenia. Like, I just couldn't. I always called it SZ. Like, I spelt it once, copying it off the front of the booklet. And then after that, it was just SZ for the whole schizophrenia section. Like, I just couldn't spell it. It's hard. Can I get a drum roll, please? This is it. It's here. The, in my opinion, best study of the whole course. And I feel like this is going to be quite controversial because I don't know if it's even like one of like the ones that you have to study. But I just have such a vivid memory of doing it, and every time I think of psychology, this is my go-to. Like, this is the one study that I always think about, and it's by a guy called Pickell, and it's the chicken and a hair salon study. And basically, they were testing for weapon focus for eyewitness testimony in memory, and then they had like this hair salon set up, and obviously like scissors are counted as a weapon, but in a hair salon you wouldn't notice them as being a weapon if they were to be used in that way, because like hair salons always have scissors, like that, like how is he supposed to cut hair? And then it was like, if there was a like an incident and it was like, oh, what, the people, when the incident was regarding scissors, they could more clearly remember the incident around them because the scissors weren't like a thing that they could focus on. But then when they brought a chicken into the hair salon, and right, this is like news to me. I was researching this again because I wanted like the full scoop for this one. Turns out the chicken isn't alive. What the hell? I always thought for my whole time that they'd got an alive chicken. They just opened the door and they just let this chicken run through the hair salon. Like, how class would that have been? And just going like cluck 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 cluck, laying eggs everywhere while there was like the hair on the floor. Like, that would have been funny. Turns out actually a dead chicken, like a raw chicken on a plate. Kind of ruins it, but also like, it's still iconic. I just like to ignore that and think it's still a live chicken. Great. This chicken is brought into the hair salon, and then the incident happens, and people couldn't remember the incident quite as well as when it was the scissors because they were distracted by the chicken. So it was like weapon focus isn't really a thing. It's just focusing on the thing that's out of place in the context. So like if there was a stabbing in a knife factory, you're you're more likely to be aware of like the whole situation because you wouldn't have been focused on the knife because there'd be so many of them, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I just love the idea of this chicken running around. Like, I can't think of anything better. And part of my degree of psychology, if I ever get the chance ever in my whole life, I'm going to recreate this study with a real chicken. I don't care, I'm going to do it, and it's going to be brilliant. I hope you've enjoyed this little ranking of psychology studies. Fellow A-level psychology students who should have been taking the exam on 18th of May, Monday. It's sad, isn't it? I miss it so much, but hopefully first year of my degree will be somewhat similar and I'll enjoy it just as much. And shout out to Miss Price and Miss Sandel for being there, for being OG teachers. Like, I actually really enjoyed your subject, even though I really didn't like school. Like, psychology just made it for me. So thanks, guys. Love it. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye.